if you're relying on NIH grants, it's time to broaden your funding strategies because who knows what's going to happen at the agency.
Will the real AI please stand up? Please stand up. That's right. Shout out to Eminem, right? So what do I mean by that? Show me the money. Right?
Yeah.
Show me the money or the savings, whatever you want to call it. Walgreens, the problem became outside of you doing primary care, you really were a one-trick pony. Your entire business was just pharmacy.
Hello and welcome to Debunked. Samir and I are back with another episode. As you know, this is a healthcare news show that we do monthly where we try to get away from fluff, right, Samir? All right, so where do we begin? There's so much love in the air. I'm talking, of course, about the Valentine's Day massacre that happened a few weeks ago, where a lot of federal workers, especially at HHS, were unceremoniously fired by DOJ and the Trump administration. I think the CDC and the NIH were hit especially hard. We don't really know how many people have been let go. I've heard like a few thousand, but no clear number has emerged. We actually, in MedCityNews.com, we ran an op-ed that basically said that, you founders, if you're relying on NIH grants, it's time to broaden your funding strategies because who knows what's going to happen at the agency. Will it shut down? I don't know. Maybe that's a little too much. That was the headline of the story. Like, will NIH shut down? I think that's probably a little exaggerated, but founders should definitely look at other things. So, Samir, since you're the investor here, I thought I would ask you the question, but before you say venture capital, let me point out that this is a figure that Entrepreneur Magazine did in 2013. So it's a little bit old, but the idea is that venture capital is a two-bit player in the whole innovation economy. So Entrepreneur Magazine did a infographic where they said that, look, only 0.05% of overall startups is funded by venture capital. So given that venture capital is not a huge player and NIH, there's a lot of uncertainty there. So, where do these poor people go who want some money for their idea?
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you for the comment on Valentine's Day massacre, because it's a show, right, that's going on right now. And sometimes I like to point out what I'm wearing.
Okay.
So this says tamasha. So for those of you, the non-2 billion people who don't know Hindi, right? Basically, tamasha means spectacle, show, and that's what we're living. So I figured it was very appropriate that I wore a shirt that says tamasha. Right? Welcome to the tamasha. Right?
Oh, God.
So, anyways, you asked about that. Let's step back a little bit first, too. It's not just people who are getting let go from NIH and CDC and all that stuff. It's also the funding cuts that are happening, right, to your point. And so, unnamed source is an investor of mine, is an LP of mine, who is a major finance figure controller at a major university in the US, literally told me that, you know what, we rely on the funding, the research, because we do a lot of research, right, for all sorts of different things, not just healthcare, but other things as well.
Sure.
And he said, hey, Samir, let me just tell you, last year, we ran on a $16 million positive budget. And he goes, we just calculated the reduction that we are going to be getting from the government slash is going to cost us $30 million. So immediately, they're in the red,
right.
Minus 15, right? One other thing to add there. So I said to him, right, basically a loaded question, how are you going to make up for that? What do you think he said? Well, we're going to have to charge more.
Oh my God.
Oh, so here you go. So wait a second. We are going to cut fat out of the government because there's all this fat, all this extra spending that we're doing. And we're doing it for the good of people, right? We're doing it for the good of people. And now the trickle down may happen that we're already paying education, higher education is already super damn expensive in this country.
Right.
You're getting funding. Those universities still need to make up the difference.
Right.
What are you going to do? Right?
You're gonna
Or
charge people more.
you're going to charge people more, or people are going to take out more loans, you're
Yeah.
going to have more debt. There you go. So the situation did not really get solved that way.
Yeah.
Now you talk about it from a startup's perspective and what are the different options. Yeah. You know, venture capital, it's a really loose term to me, right?
Okay.
For example, we're a venture capital firm, but there are multiple different instruments of getting capital, right? So you have angel investors, right? You have family offices, right? You have crowd-funded like platforms and stuff like that. So one is the type of different investor that you could go to. Second is what's the instrument that you're using to basically get capital into your business, right? Traditional venture capital, you're going to get a term sheet, you're giving away equity and things like that. But you know, what did YC make really popular? Safes, right?
Okay,
So
what's
safe
that?
is basically, it's convertible debt, right? So you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and give you money. And then at your next priced round, when venture shows up, all that debt is going to convert into equity, and you're typically going to get it in two forms. Either you're going to get a discount,
Okay.
so like, hey, you know what, I was going to get a 1-to-1, no, I'm going to get a 1-to-5 different conversion because I took the early risk, so I'm getting a discount on the valuation, or there's usually a cap. So it sits there and says, hey, you know, I'm going to basically say the future value of my business is capped at this number. So either I'm going to get this number or I'm going to get a cap, or I'm going to get a discount from there. So it's basically debt that converts into equity. So you have safes, you also have what's called a convertible note. So, but here's the thing, even VCs like us, we invest in safes and convertible notes as well. Okay, so it's not just, it doesn't always have to be a priced term sheet round, okay? And then outside of that, like really other side of the extreme is venture debt. You might have heard of that concept, right?
Yes.
Venture debt is basically what it sounds like. It is you're going and getting a loan, right? There's repayment terms, there's interest rates, and then there's also collateral, right? So what's been fascinating to me also is that there's another third or hidden option. There's no market for this kind of capital, and it's literally called private lending.
Okay.
So there are people, you could call them high net worth individuals or whatever, they literally give startups these sort of loans, if you want to call it. They're almost like advances with ridiculous interest rates, and then there's also collateral behind it.
I see.
So they're literally almost, Arundhati, it's crazy, they're like private lenders. They're like private banks. It's like the Bank of Arundhati. Hey, I'm going to give you money, right?
I'm a poor journalist, remember?
They're like, I'm gonna give you money, but here are my payment terms. I want 12%, 15% interest, right? And then what are you offering as collateral on this? Are you giving me additional equity on top of that? So like, A, I'm giving you money.
Yeah.
You need to pay this back in 2 years, 3 years, plus 15% compound interest. And I'm also going to get equity in the business. It's almost like if anybody watches Shark Tank, it's Mr. Wonderful's deals.
Right.
He's always sort of doing, well, you know, I'm going to give you money, but then once the money is paid back to me, I'm also going to own equity.
Yeah.
So there are these attractive or interesting options out there.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, when this stuff became more favorable or more popular, is because when these valuations went bonkers.
Right.
Valuations went bonkers. Interest rates were crazy from a public perspective.
Correct.
So companies still needed funding, right? So they did convertible notes, they did debt rounds, they did safe rounds. Venture debt firms started contacting us, venture firms, to sit there and say, hey, I know you don't want to do term sheets and valuations, but if your companies are looking for venture debt with favorable terms, please bring them to us. So there are, but the unfortunate thing is that, even us as investors, we do look at companies with a credible eye when they come to us and say, hey, look, I've got NIH funding, or I've got, so-and-so, National Science Foundation. It's a huge validation point.
Validation, right?
It's a credibility point. And then, you know what? It's non-diluted capital. That's wonderful for the entrepreneur. It's wonderful for us.
Investor,
So, again, like my comment that I made before, are we thinking through this completely? Right? You're coming in and getting people excited and saying, oh, I'm going to cut the fat. But what are the ramifications of these decisions that you're making?
Well, we'll see how the tamasha unfolds.
Exactly.
We'll see. Okay, now switching from funding innovation to celebrating innovation. I was at Vive, a few weeks ago.
Another tamasha.
No, I mean, look, I think the organizers do a really good job of really creating a wonderful conference experience. The content is the content. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not. But heck, I'd rather go to Health and Vive than to many other healthcare.
Oh, no, for sure,
right?
No doubt.
We are, in all openness, we have a relationship with them. So it's not a completely unbiased opinion. I just wanted to be transparent about that. But anyway, back to Vive and celebrating innovation. I could not walk a step in the exhibition show floor without running into AI, agentic AI. I mean, I know people talk about it being overused and things like that, but I feel like we are in the midst of a really major AI revolution.
Sure,
People are sort of comparing it to something as path-breaking as the Industrial Revolution. Now, that was historically a period from 1760 to 1840. It was a long period of time and probably cumulative. This seems to be all happening super fast at the same time, maybe because I'm living
at the speed of AI.
At the speed of AI. It's moving really fast. I mean, just a few examples, and I've spoken to one of these before, like last year at JPM, I saw maybe one Waymo, the autonomous vehicles without any humans inside. In the entire 3-4 days that I was there, this year, only 12 months, so many more, right? Every day, you ran into them. Personally, my use of AI has gone up. I mean, I use it to research, prepare for stuff. So I think we're in the middle of a major shift, and I think slowly, I think health systems are also seeing some value. I met some healthcare professionals at Vive, and they also said the same thing. I mean, they were cautiously optimistic. For example, I met Karen Hanlon, who's the chief operating officer of Highmark Health, and she talked about how they're doing a few things with this company called Sword Health, which is an AI-enabled virtual sort of MSK, joint health company. So they did a study back in 2022 using that program for acute pain and chronic pain, and they felt that, and they actually did a study later on that showed, they meaning the health system did a study which showed that after they completed the program, 69% reported a reduction in acute pain. The better story is with virtual joint health. People who underwent that program reported needing less surgery, less imaging, a few other parameters metrics that I've now forgotten, but apparently led to savings of $112 per patient per month over this period. I mean, those are real savings. That's real value, not some nebulous nonsense like engagement, right?
Look, absolutely, right? Will the real AI please stand up? Please stand up. That's right. Shout out to Eminem, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean, we talked about this last time when we talked about agentic AI.
Yeah.
Show me the results, show me the efficiency. Now shout out to Jerry Maguire. Right?
He's like the master of popular media.
Actually, I'm dating myself, right? Eminem, Jerry Maguire.
True.
Like a while ago. No, but honestly, maybe it is time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, speed of AI, like we just talked about, right? We were kind of being, like, we're laughing about it, but honestly, like even your use of AI, like in everyday life, we use AI. We didn't know we were using AI, right? Like you pick up your phone, you're doing a bunch of stuff. You don't know you're using AI, right? True. But now you're purposely doing it in your job. Like I am too, right? For research, for diligence, writings, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, not for writing.
But you know what I mean? Not writing like that, but like we research such a, to get more efficient, right? To get faster, to get your point across. You're like, hey, I need to digest a lot of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So, to me, I think the speed of AI is uniquely different than you could compare to anything else in the past, right? Because, I mean, the whole concept of AI is efficiency and speed.
Right.
So I'm not shocked that things are going so fast, and I honestly also do believe that it is not a buzzword. It is here to stay, and I can almost make a claim, and I wrote this in my LinkedIn post, we will be talking about AI in some form in every damn show we do, because it is not something that we just feel like is going to just disappear.
Right.
Will it become part of our DNA, background? Yes, I do believe that, but here's the bottom line. Is this the year maybe, from a healthcare perspective, that we start seeing the value, right? Like, okay, we've all got used to and started to understand. I feel like it's almost like, a kid, learning how to crawl, right? Then walk, then run. I feel like we've done the crawling part. Hey, what the hell is AI? Okay, well, AI is going to take all this data and try to make sense of it. Okay, great. Maybe that was the crawling stage. I don't know, right? And then maybe the scooting or walking stage was, okay, well, now the AI, we're going to start doing generative AI, right? Like, okay, we're going to start making some decision making. We're going to start doing some of that, but we're going to do it very lightly.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to do it in clinical areas, right? So, because you're just learning how to walk.
Right.
You just bump and fall down the stairs, right?
Right.
And then, are we ready to run? But I think, to me, running. What happens when you have a baby start running? You gotta have guardrails. Hey, go lock those cabinets.
Yeah.
To me, the comparison or the metaphor there is, well, then now you're sitting there telling me AI is gonna make it cheaper, faster, stronger, more efficient, save me money, make me money. Great. Well, then, even in bite size, I need to start seeing those results. The other thing that concerns me across all this stuff is, what's defensible then?
Yeah.
You talked about, what is it, ChatGPT versus, what is it, DeepSeek, right? I mean, open, so what's defensible then?
Yeah.
So then what, to me, like as an investor or even as a user, I'm sitting there going, how am I going to pick quality of AI over someone else's quality of AI? So am I evaluating the data set, or am I evaluating your ability to drive efficiency or speed or accuracy or what? How do I evaluate that? How do I evaluate the quality of that, really? Right? And then thirdly, from an investor perspective, oh my God, there's so many AI companies. You can just pop up an AI company. If I'm seeing companies come to me and they're like, oh yeah, I just started 6 months ago and I got like millions of dollars of revenue, I'm sitting there going, okay, so in the past it might have been, that's the competitive edge. You have revenue, you don't have revenue. But if everybody's showing up to me and saying, I'm fast, I have revenue, what does the competitive landscape look like? I'm like, so I think then it boils down to results.
Yeah. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Show me the money or the savings, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but is 2025 or 2026 the year that we need to start seeing like actual like results then? Because I think that the mass creation of AI is like endless. And even if you look at any of the statistics, the venture statistics or funding statistics, I mean, I don't know what the number was, like, and this is industry-wide. I mean, California is still leading the charge in like the creation and generation of like AI companies popping up.
Yeah.
Right? So like it just like that's the other thing that worries me, is that just like anything else, like you get over-inflation, right, or over hyper creation, and then you need to have this stabilization force. And to me, I think in a critical area like healthcare, the only way you're going to have a stabilization force, just like the same metrics we use to use technology at their feet to the fire, what's the ROI?
Yeah.
It's going to have to be the same thing in AI. The only difference is it's the speed of AI. But you could show me an ROI faster then.
Well, we have to think about that. I mean, coming back to Sword Health, I mean, I feel like that company is probably, like other companies, preparing to go public. But I understand that investors need a payday and founders need a payday. I get all of that, but I just am not fully convinced that the Wall Street understands the value of digital health companies. And we've seen this movie so many times. Big hoopla, and I'm not even talking just about the pandemic. If we go even further before the pandemic, companies like Life Health went public, huge, success, and then boom, stock price never reached IPO levels. It just kept declining, and then it got taken public. So we've seen this movie.
Or got taken private then.
I'm sorry, got taken private, exactly. They were public, they got taken private. So we've seen this movie over and over and over. And I just don't know that digital health, health IT, AI, whatever you want to call it, I don't know that Wall Street judges value in the same way that health systems do or healthcare stakeholders do.
Yeah. Look, Sword, Hinge, Verta, Omada, Maven, one or many of these are definitely going public in 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
And shameless plug, we are investors in one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one. Tiny investor.
Okay.
But honestly,
somebody's about to get rich here, folks.
No. No, honestly, where else are you going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, that's part of the situation, right? There's been so much valuation creation that's happened. Ooh, say that 5 times fast. Valuation creation, right? By creating unicorns, by all this money pumping into this.
Yeah.
And to your point, absolutely, we've seen this song and dance before. Hello, Livongo, Teladoc. I mean, we just talked about it from an article perspective, big time. Accolade, Amwell, right? Like public getting bought out by private getting bought out by it's. So the Wall Street, to your point, they're not going to treat us very nicely because the track record has not been very pretty, right? Mm-hmm. Now the question is that was that a product of, hey, you popped during COVID, and then we saw that there was this prince was actually not a prince, was a beast, right?
Oh my God.
Right? I'm just saying, and then like the realization took place,
yeah.
And just the natural market movement crushed those companies, right?
Yeah.
Or just crushed them in terms of their stock price or whatever it is,
yeah.
Buyer's remorse, whatever you want to call it, okay? So I think these companies, at least what I'm hearing, again, I'm no expert, is that, just calm your expectations, right? So I think the public events are probably still expected for these companies. Okay. But I think the returns are not going to be bonker returns like we saw with Livongo's, Teladoc purchase and all that sort of stuff. I just think it's going to be a lot more mitigated. Now, what's going to separate anybody here is going to be just like what needs to separate everybody anyways. It's usual profitability. What's the marker of EBITDA that you're trading at? What are your margins? What do your growth trajectories look like? So I think healthcare companies are going to be valued on those same basic principles that everybody else should. I think what we saw was I'm going to just say it was shit show, and it should not happen again, and it probably will not happen again. Now, Sword, Hinge, all these companies we're talking about, none of them would you label as an AI company right now.
True.
They're not AI companies. So this is just going to be another version of virtualized digital health, right? Good businesses. They're all good businesses. It just depends on, where they end up from a market perspective. And they're all going to go this route, believe me. And if some of them don't go this route, they're definitely getting exited some way.
What do you mean they don't go this route? Like they
IPO. If they don't go IPO, they're getting bought.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Time out, you're done. Like, what are you going to do? You're on series E, F, G. What the hell?
I know.
You can't keep going, right? At some point, you gotta go.
Right.
You gotta go. You gotta either get merged, or you're gonna get sold, or you gonna go public.
Yeah.
But let's just mitigate expectations here.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Like, it's not gonna be. You're not gonna get like $60, $70, stock prices and booming and like no.
So not the internet multiples that we've seen.
Hell to the no.
Yeah.
Because if you are, your blended margins, your EBITDA is going to be evaluated like a tech multiple.
Right.
And if you can measure up to a tech multiple, guess what? Wall Street will treat you like a tech multiple.
Good for you then. But
okay, good for you then.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, I don't know, I highly doubt that these companies have tech multiples, right?
It's healthcare after all.
It's healthcare.
Yeah.
So I just highly doubt that. I mean, look, we also saw Noom was going to go public, and then they said, "Oh, time out, I ain't going to do this."
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of, and it's going to happen because the IPO market is primed. The last 2 years, as you know,
There hasn't been any.
it's been very light. And I'm not just talking about in healthcare. I'm talking about in general. It's been very light.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. What's going to be really funny to me about outside all these companies is who's going to go first, because I'm sure they're all watching each other, going like, hey, who's going to dip their dough in? Who's going to get exposed first?
Yeah.
to see what the market's reaction is.
Right. Dip in their toes.
Dip in their toes.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Once in a while, we do these Ask the Investor segments. And so since we have Samir here, and we've been talking about AI, I want him to boil down 1, 2, 3. He gets inundated with AI pitches. I just know it. They're promising to pluck the moon out of the sky and give it to him and do all these impossibly wonderful things. So 1, 2, 3, Samir, when you get AI pitches, what are you looking for?
So hell yeah, you have to have a BS meter, right? And
radar, yeah.
Meter, radar, whatever you want to call it, and then especially when you're coming to the king of BS, right?
Yes. You are the king of BS.
No, but I mean honestly, right? So, and we talked about this just recently. We talked about it before too. Is that yeah? I mean, you're getting a lot of AI coming at you in all shapes and sizes and forms. So number one thing that I'm looking at is the integrity of the data set, right? Like I'm sitting there going, okay, well, you got to validate that data set for me. Where are you getting all that data, right? And then depending on what you're looking at in healthcare, this is real. Is it synthetic data or is it real data? That's a real thing too, right? I mean, to be honest with you, it's lab generated data that I'm using to train my AI, or are you actually using actual like data sets that you've gotten access to? Again, from government, health system, payers, clinical organizations, whatever the heck it is, banks, data banks, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes really, really important. Number two, where's your first use case? Like who's actually tried this? And please, let it be somebody who you're not related to. Can't be your uncle, your nephew, your cousin. Let's leave nepotism out of this, right? I ran this data set here in this practice. You boil it down, and
does this actually happen?
Oh, this stuff happens. You would be amazed how much it happens. But I don't blame the founders because what they're doing is, and not just in AI, they're going and trying to validate. Hey, like I need a safe environment to go do that.
True.
But you can't take that and go to a venture capital firm and say, hey, I validated it. Oh, how come the practice has the same last name as your deal? Right? So like I need someone to sit there and say, hey, look, so first of all, you train the data. How did you train the data? Is it synthetic? Is it real? Okay, now you're actually going to go try out your algorithms, right? And then thirdly, I hate to say it, now with the speed of AI we're in right now, what results do you have? Right? Like, have you been able to, increase efficiency, cut spending? Have you been able to reduce FTE? Whatever you're sort of sitting there claiming,
right.
If AI is moving as fast as you and I are seeing, then there's no reason that even if you're walking into me at seed stage that you don't have results.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny, right? Because with normal SaaS, digital health, software companies, I may not be able to ask you that. I may be able to ask you revenue, but you might sit there and say, yeah, I got revenue, but it's going to take me a little bit of time to show results. But with AI, I mean, look, you're claiming speed and efficiency, and you're claiming, revenue that's outpacing anything we've ever seen, at least in healthcare.
Yeah.
Then I demand to see some results. Yeah. So I think it's quality of data. Where are you actually validating? And then number three, okay, well, I guess it's time to show me results then.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So now from the ethereal world of artificial intelligence to brick and mortar business, the last thing I wanted to talk about was a story on Walgreens. Last year it was reported that Walgreens was in talks to sell itself. Apparently that deal fell apart, but CNBC is reporting that the deal is now alive and Walgreens and Sycamore Partners might have a deal soon. Now, Sycamore Partners is a private equity firm with real focus and expertise in retail. I guess what I'm thinking of is that multiple companies went. And I'm opining here, overreached in primary care. You got Walgreens, Walmart, CVS. Is that the only reason that Walgreens, that's such a staple of American life, and it has crumbled? I mean, what would you point to for its failure and collapse, I guess, for lack of a better term?
So I'm going to throw a couple of examples that are not fun examples, but I mean
But you're laughing.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because it's sad. I mean, sometimes in sadness you laugh.
Oh,
I don't know.
Only in somebody's world.
My world. Look, no one back in the day would have sat there and said, "Oh, Polaroid is going to crumble," or Pan Am will go away. I mean, Pan Am was or Circuit City will never exist, or Borders or Lehman Brothers, Sears, all these things, right?
Yeah.
Now you take Walmart and CVS,
Yes.
you said in your example, and then we have Walgreens, right? So you have
Yes.
Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. Here's the crux of it, right?
Yeah.
Walmart's primary business is not primary care.
True.
CVS's primary business is not primary care.
True again.
Okay?
Yeah.
Walgreens, your primary business was pharmacy, and that's it, right? CVS is, remember, people don't realize it's CVS Aetna.
True. True.
Okay, Walmart is like has pharmacies, but they're selling everything to you as well. For Walgreens, the problem became outside of you doing primary care, you really were a one-trick pony. Your entire business was just pharmacy. So I think, to me, if I look at the separation and sit there and go, well, how come CVS was able to absorb that failure, or Walmart? I mean, look at them. They've got multiple strands of business. They've got multiple cash cows. With Walgreens, it was not. Right? You're already competing with all your pharmacy guys. Right? And look, even in the pharmacy space, in the retail pharmacy space, if you look at it, there's been a lot of attrition. I mean, growing up, like, it's like you had Rite Aid, you had all these different brands. I mean, they're all like disappeared. It's like everywhere I look now, all I really just see is CVS, or what you see is the big box retailers have their own pharmacies.
Right.
Like, you know, we're in California, so you see Safeway, Target.
Correct.
Right? Like, those people have their own pharmacies inside.
Yeah.
Or you see CVS. Now for every 5 CVSs, I see 1 Walgreens.
True.
Right? So I think it's been something where they played that card. Yeah, remember we were just talking about all the stuff that happened in the past few years with all these investments and all these companies getting bought out.
Yeah.
It's buyer's remorse, right? And so I think it's very sad because Walgreens has been around for like a long, long time. You know, it's almost like they were at the poker table and they went all in on this hand that they had.
And they had to pull back. Well, we'll see. We'll have to see how the story ends. You know, earlier I giggled when Samir talked about Teladoc and Livongo. I'm hoping some of you read the long article I had on MedCityNews.com. If you're interested in more articles like that, you need people to come out and talk to us reporters, whether it be your local newspaper, whether it be, you know, MedCity News. I'm also on Signal, which, as you know, is end-to-end encrypted, so you're protected. And though I don't need much protection, I'm protected too. So reach out to me on Signal if you have some interesting news to share. Please subscribe to Debunked, our YouTube channel, where Samir and I give it to you like it is. We call a spade, right, Samir?
Absolutely, and I again applaud what you guys are doing, right? And I think it's important to talk about all sides of the business, right? Good, bad, ugly. This is the industry we live in, we love, we care about. So let's talk about it. Like, there's no harm in talking about it. So
absolutely. And thank you again for watching.
Thanks.